Welcome to the Woodturning Workshop on a brisk Oklahoma winter morning. Today we're going to be doing the first part in a three-part series on how to go from tree to bowl. And we're going to talk about chainsaw safety, how to fell a tree, and prepare that wood for turning. The show today has some serious ups and downs. Stay tuned. The process of creating a bowl can take months. You have to dry the blank. But it's the first few moments in creating a bowl that are the most critical and dangerous, and that's felling the tree, something most wood turners wouldn't even think to attempt. Well, what do you need to get started? Well, obviously, the first thing you need is a chainsaw. And you gotta have fuel and oil for that, and bar oil. And it's always really good to bring an extra chain. You'll never know when your chain will get dull. Also, you wanna have plastic wedges. And on top of that, it's very handy to have an axe and a rope. You're going to need that sooner or later too. And above all, don't forget your safety equipment. You're going to need a helmet with face and ear protection, a first aid kit, safety chaps for your legs, a cell phone in case you get into trouble, steel-toed work boots, and good gloves. There's one other piece of safety equipment I didn't mention, and it's absolutely the most important thing you can have when you're cutting down a tree, and that's a partner. And Orrin, my buddy.
Good morning, Tim.
How you doing? Is going to help us take this tree down. And you had one other piece of safety advice I hadn't even thought about.
Yeah, that's when you're out in the field and you drive your pickup out there and you got all your equipment, you get ready. First thing you should do before you get out of the truck is turn that truck around to where it's facing out of the field. So if anything happens, any problems, you can get in the vehicle and you can go forward. You don't have to worry about backing up or anything.
That makes an awful lot of sense.
It's very important.
Well, the tree today we're doing is right there behind that stump, this big old water oak.
Okay, well that's good. There's nothing in front of it, no power lines.
Looks pretty good.
You do have this one, I guess that's a dead tree off to the side.
Yep.
That when that comes down is going to hit it, so we probably have to take that little one down.
Yeah, the owner said he had no problem with that. Matter of fact, he kind of liked the more trees we could take out, the better.
Okay, that's good. So it might fall over in the beehives here, though.
Yeah, I don't think we want to hit those. That'd be kind of a pain.
Okay, we may have to tie a rope on it or something and pull it this direction.
Yep, you're right. Well, why don't we go closer and take another look at it?
Okay.
Well, this slope is going to factor in a little bit.
Man, that's kind of steep.
Well,
that's quite a slope.
First thing I do when I come to a tree is I look up, because we want to see if there's anything up there that's going to fall on us. It might be hard for you to see, but we have a branch that's loose right up there, so we're going to have to figure out a way to knock that out, and those are called widow makers.
Yeah, that'd fall right on your head.
Yeah, it would be
cutting that out.
Now, we got a lot of dead branches, but I don't think those are going to factor into it. They're all attached well.
Well, you've got to concern yourself with that falling. You've got to concern yourself with this slope here.
Yep.
And standing.
Yeah, you're right, because we're going to have to get a purchase here to make the cut, so we're going to have to clean this area out before we make the cut.
Well, it's always, you got to come uphill, so you don't want to be slipping. This is tough. The other thing I noticed is that it's real hard on a slope like this to tell which way the tree's leaning, but it looks to me like this tree's actually leaning back.
You're absolutely right.
And we want the tree to fall the other direction.
So we're going to have to make a good wedge cut.
We're going to need to think about that. And there's a fence out there also, but I think that's far enough away, that's not a problem.
And I think this will miss the honeybees fairly easily.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that it's leaning back, so it's going to be important how you notch it.
Yeah, we'll have to use some wedges on this side once we start cutting.
Okay.
Well, our problem tree, I think the one that's going to be more difficult is this small one back here. Let's go take a look at it. I didn't tell you you'd be mountain climbing today, did I, Orrin?
No, I didn't wear the shoes for this.
The slope is definitely going to play into it. Well, this tree worries me the most because of the angle it's got, and you've done a lot of wood turning. What type of tree do you think this is?
Well, looks to me like a dead tree.
Oh, you're a lot of help.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Well, obviously it is aiming right at those honey hives over there, that honeybee stuff. We don't want to hit that.
No, we're gonna have to pull it over that direction some.
Yeah.
It's old, it's dead, it's brittle.
That's gonna be a little dangerous.
It's got a split down here.
Yep.
You know, my big concern on this is two things. Where it's gonna fall, and I think we can pull it over there. That won't be a problem. The other thing is the safety on you, where you're gonna be.
Right.
You're gonna be down there when you notch it.
And that'll be easy.
But you're gonna have to be up here to cut it, and then you're gonna have to get a weight up here. I guess your shoes are better than mine, but
yeah,
that's a concern.
We're gonna have to work on the ground a little bit. I brought a hoe and a rake for that so we can clean that up. Maybe I can make some steps to get out. But a tree like this is very dangerous when it's dead and brittle, and you have to change the direction it's gonna fall. So we have to be very careful on the way we notch it. But I think the first thing we're gonna have to do probably is attach a rope to the top of it so we can affect the direction of this when we fell it.
Well, that's going to be fun because I'm not climbing it. So how do you figure I'm getting a rope up there?
Well, Ray, who owns this property, has a pretty cool toy he loaned me, and we'll see what we can do with it. I'll show it to you.
Okay, cool.
Well, welcome to the Ray 3000 Slingshot tree rope thrower.
I've never seen anything like that.
This is ingenuity at its best. Ray Richardson, who owns a home and is a wood turner, you know, decided to turn this shaft here so he could attach a wrist sprocket or a slingshot to it, and then a reel, for a spinning reel from a fishing rod. Now the concept here is you take this and you shoot this with a weight on it. It goes over the top of the tree up there, right? Then it falls down. You attach a small piece of twine to this, pull that back up, and to the end of that you attach the rope that you want to be on there, and you pull the rope through that way, rather than spending an hour and a half trying to throw a rope 40 feet in the air.
Can we put money on this?
I don't know, but this is only a 30-minute show, so we'll see how this goes.
I'm going to stand way back.
I don't blame you. Let me load this up. Get a little slack there. Put the weight in. I'm doing this really well, aren't I?
Uh-huh.
Okay, now, here goes nothing. Yes!
10, first try.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Well,
Yeah, it's a magic of television.
we tried.
Okay.
Okay, I'll let you do the knot tying.
Thank you. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know knots very well.
I wasn't in the Navy or anything.
Okay. We got some nice light rope here. Tie this on. And now, okay, I'm going to reel that up. Oh, I got to go reel that up.
Go reel that up. You can't do both.
Okay, here we go.
All right, take it easy.
It's probably the biggest thing I've caught in a long time. I bet you didn't think this was going to work, did you? Okay, here it comes. Great. Now, this rope's not strong enough to be pulling the tree over with, so we attach a heavier rope, and then Orrin reels it in on his end. Okay, Orrin, bring her back.
Now I got a real astute question here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I got the end of the green rope. You got the end of the green rope.
Yeah.
How are we going to get a knot around this thing?
Oh, okay. Well, I figure let's go ahead and make a loop knot.
Need to untie this?
Yeah. I don't know if that's exactly the right term for it, but I never made it past the second page of knots in Boy Scouts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can tell you one thing, it's warming up. I'm going to be shedding this coat in here before long.
Yeah, me too. Okay, we just pass that through like so, and you go ahead and walk on out in the field there, and now pull up tight on there, and we'll be able to get you out of the reach of the tree then.
That's it.
Good. That's one of the best things about Oklahoma winters.
You're right there.
Well, we're going to take off a little bit of clothing and put on a little bit of clothing. And I got to tell you, these are some of the most important things that you can have when you're working with a chainsaw, and they're safety chaps. And the material is made so if the blade ever strikes them, it clogs up the sprocket in there and stops the blade from turning. You might get cut still, but it's going to be a lot less severe than it happened if you just had your jeans on. And I know you don't want to put this stuff on, but we do it in the shop and it works. And I've talked to some emergency room physicians, and they say the worst accidents they ever see are chainsaw accidents. I don't want you to be scared of the machine. I just want you to respect it. You also are going to need protection for your ears and your eyes, and wear some good work gloves so you can grip the chainsaw well. Now we're going to start this, and everybody's chainsaw starts a little bit differently, so follow your manufacturer's instructions. Also follow their safety techniques, and if you have any questions, call them. They're always willing to help you out. I want to put my foot on the handle here, take my chain brake, push it forward. That locks the chain and keeps it from turning. I'm going to put this down to the starting position, and I'm going to pull till it does that. Now, I'm going to knock it up once, pull it again, grab it, take the chain brake off, warm it up in here. Okay, got the saw warmed up and we're ready to go cut down the tree. One other thing, when you're walking with a chainsaw, always point the blade backwards. That way if you fall, you're not going to fall on the blade. Now, Oren, I'm going to head on up to the tree, but you think you could share some safety techniques with our viewers about pulling on the rope?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about this.
Okay, thanks.
Got a little bit of extra rope here, so one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to trip over it. I've got a box back there behind me that I also have to watch out for. A lot of people will take a rope and they'll put it around their hands like that. That's a good way to lose a finger or two if something bad were to happen and the tree went the other way and you get caught. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rope and just put it together like this, get all the excess out so it's underneath my feet. I'm going to grab hold of it like this, and then I'll be able to pull.
Now, we're ready to make our cuts, but let's talk about them before we do it. The first cut we're going to make on this side is going to be a wedge. We're going to come in at a 45-degree angle here, and then come in straight across and complete the wedge and take out the piece of wood. Now you must make sure that this meets perfectly inside, because a clean cut will make sure the tree falls in the direction you're trying to aim it. The other thing, we don't want to make these cuts any deeper than about 1/5 the diameter of the tree trunk. If we go too far in, it could fall on us before we're ready to have it fall. I will be holding the saw like this, and I've cleaned out the area so I can get a really good stance and I'm not going to slip and slide. And I'm going to bring the saw in to make my cut. And if you notice, there's a black line running around the chainsaw. That's called a felling sight. If I aim that line in the direction I want the tree to fall before I make my cuts, it helps me angle it just right to get it to where I want it to go. So now let's get ready to make the cuts. Okay, get our helmet on. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I'm going to have to make my back cut from up here, so I want to make sure this cut is high enough up that when I'm over here I don't have to bend too far down to make my cut. The other thing is, we're on a slope, so we can't start this by putting it on the ground to start it. So let me put my hearing protection on and I'll show you how you start this standing. Put it down to the hot position. That's why I warmed it up, so we could do a standing start. Put the handle between your legs, engage the safety brake, disengage the safety brake. Now we're going to make our cuts. Engage it while I walk up and get in position. When I'm ready to cut, disengage it. Now we're going to make our 45-degree down. Now we're going to make the straight across cut and finish the wedge. If you don't make it the first cut, come back on top. There we go, got the first wedge out. Now we're ready to make the felling cut. And I want it to be 2 inches above where this notch is. And I'm going to still use my felling sights to direct this cut the way I want it to go. Once this starts to fall, I don't want to go any closer than 2 inches to where the wedge stops, or the tree could fall back on me. So once the tree starts to move, engage your chain brake and walk up at a 45-degree angle to get away. If you walk straight behind, the tree could kick back and hit you, and it's very unsafe. Chain brake engaged. Start her up. Chain brake off. right. There was a dead tree.
Yeah, always got to have a little humor.
What you got there?
I'm going to take the rope off there. And remember we had that limb that was going to come down and hit you on the head, that dead one on the other side?
Yep.
So before you cut that down, we need to get that limb out.
Sounds good.
So why don't you take that, work on that.
Oh, and you're going to watch me, huh?
Yeah. If it falls, it can fall on one person. It doesn't need to fall on two.
Thanks a lot. Well, I'm going to need my helmet for this one for sure, because I don't want it coming down on my head. And if I'm lucky, I'll be able to snag this branch here and wiggle it loose so it won't fall on me when we're cutting. That would have hurt. Same as the last time, but it's a little bit larger tree. And because it is leaning slightly back, we're gonna have to make the wedge a bit larger this time. Close enough. Now we're ready for the felling cut. We're just going to come across at a 90-degree angle, about 2 inches above where that wedge is. I've notched in a couple places so I have really good grip with my feet so I won't slide, because I've got to go up this slope at a 45-degree angle away from this tree, and there's one dead branch up there that worries me a bit, so I want to make sure I'm getting clear at that time. When I make this cut, if the tree's not falling before I get about 3 or 4 inches from the notch, I'm going to stop the saw, leave it in the cut, put a wedge in so the tree does not lean back and pinch the saw. So I think we're ready to go. We'll see how this works out. We got a problem here. This tree is wanting to shift that way. It's leaned back now. Even with the wedge, it pinched the saw. So we're gonna have to use the axe to make a few strikes to see if we can get it moving. Well, that shows that these things don't work out the same way every time. This is a natural product. As I was talking about the fact the saw was stuck, the tree decided to go ahead and move. So I did the best thing I could do, and I left the saw. I can always replace the saw. I can't replace me. But anyway, we've got this thing down now. So the next thing is we're going to cut it up and prepare some wood for turning.
Well, that was dramatic, Tim. Didn't exactly go the way you thought, but
it never does.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, now we got it on the ground. What should we be looking for when we get ready to limb this thing up?
Well, first off, we tripped all over the place to get in here. We've got all these limbs. We need to get rid of some limbs. The weight of this tree is on this limb right here.
Right.
So we can cut all this stuff around, we won't have a problem. But if we try to cut here,
it's going to settle and it could roll on us, so we have to be careful about that.
So I'd stay away from that. But we need to cut some of these out of here. We need to be able to move better without tripping.
Yeah, and we always should work our way from the bottom of the tree out when we're doing the limbing, and then we work our way back when we start working on the trunk.
Right.
Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're working with the saw, never cut with the tip. That's how you get kickback. So always use the middle of the saw blade to make your cut. And also go at full RPMs to make the cut. Never slow down in the middle of it. Well, we've got it limbed back pretty good. Now we're going to start cutting on the trunk. And when I cut here, there's a lot of pressure holding this up, and it's going to push down so it'll pinch my blade. So I'll make a short cut here, then come back and cut up, and it should fall cleanly. The only thing I have to worry about is that this is going to fall and it possibly will roll. So I have an exit path here, and I should be able to get out of the way. Let's see how this goes. It worked out beautifully. Now we can start cutting sections here that we're going to make our bowl out of. In the front of the saw are called bucking teeth, and they dig into the bark of the tree, and they actually let the saw cut easier. So use the saw to your advantage. Get those teeth to stick in the bark, and the blade feeds itself through the log. Now, after all that work, we got ourselves a piece of wood that we can make into a bowl. If I wanted to take this home and store it right now, just put some green wood sealer on both ends, and that slows down the drying of the wood and won't crack as much. If you do this, make sure on any blank you cut that this is longer than it is wide, because you're going to waste some wood anyway when you do your cutting. But right now I want to split this down the middle, and I've got it up off the ground so I won't go into the dirt and ruin the blade of my saw. And by cutting this in the middle, I'm going to prepare it as a blank that I can use at home right away. That way I don't wake my neighbors up at 7 a.m. using my chainsaw. Now we got that cut in half, I'm just going to nibble off the corners so when I take it home and put on my lathe, it's already semi-round and I can spin it well. Okay, even though it's a little bit rough looking, I have a blank that's a bit rounder and it worked nicely on the lathe. Orin, it is a lot of work to cut down a tree, and we're not even done yet.
Now we know why they charge so much for wood in the store.
Not kidding. Well, I hope you join us next week, because we'll be back in the shop, and we're going to take a rough piece of wood and turn it into a blank ready for drying. So until next time on the Wood Turning Workshop,
Let's keep turning.
let's get back to work.
All right.
Oi.
Here, give it the big guy.